everyone, and welcome to another exciting interview by Financial Insight. It's that time of the year again, and yes, budget season is upon us, and the 2025 edition of Budget Coverage powered by KPMG has just begun. And to kick off the conversation with me is the managing partner of KPMG Zambia, Mr. Jason Kazilimani Jr. Jason, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks, and it's always a pleasure to be here. And good morning, and time does fly. It's another budget season.
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously this one is the 2026 budget. But curiously enough, Financial Insight, at your request, at this pre-budget survey event that's taking place in Lusaka, Zambia, at obviously Protea Towers. Are you able to just share with us what the pre-budget survey is really all about? Because we always track KPMG with the post-budget report, which everyone should look forward to seeing on the day after Dr. Msokotwane presents. But are you able to just run us through what this pre-budget survey is all about?
Sure. As you pointed out, we normally involved with the post-budget analysis, but this time we decided to help dig out the issues, okay, by taking a poll of respondents from all sectors of the economy. I think we had well over 50 respondents coming through on the survey. Invitations went out to a much larger number, but I think 50 is good. Obviously, next year we hope to at least double the number of respondents, but we're happy in that I think the response was good, and it does cover basically every sector. The plan, really, the intention is to bring out the views of the general public on what they feel is wrong about previous budgets, what they would like to see in the budget that will be presented, and what they think are the real pain points that government and the Ministry of Finance needs to address in their budgets. And that's why it's done before the budget is presented. So even whilst the budget will be presented in Parliament this Friday, there's still a process. There's will be consultations even after the budget speech has been presented, and that will give an opportunity to the minister to take into account the various comments, various sentiments from all respondents. So we did partner with United Nations Development Program. These are our partners. We've got teams of economists from both sides, KPMG and UNDP. They helped draft the questions. They helped set the methodology that was used. It's all scientific, but I'm sure the SME experts, the experts will explain more on that. So it's something that's been, I think, well thought through, and the intention really is to bring out the issues and make sure that any blind spots that the policymakers may have actually brought to the fore.
Now, what's also very exciting is that we're obviously just before the event, and we've seen the list of key delegates that have come through. How important is it to obviously involve the likes of the Ministry of Finance as well for something like this? Because we always know that you always like to invite them, but for a pre-budget service, was it very important for them to also see this?
It was, because we are presenting the report coming out of the survey to the Ministry of Finance for them to take on board and consider the issues that have been raised in the report, the various sentiments, the various trends, and so on and so forth. It is very important because the Ministry of Finance is pretty central to Zambia's budgeting process.
Absolutely. And then any final remarks to the cooperating partners that were obviously working late into the night to get this survey done?
Well, first of all, thanks to our partners, UNDP. I think we worked very well together. And great thanks as well to everyone that took part in the survey and made time. It doesn't take long, and I'd urge everyone going forward to participate in the survey. Once you get the link, once you're invited, it doesn't take long, not more than 30 minutes. And everyone's contributions are actually valued. And I'm very sure that the Ministry of Finance also value the contributions and will value the data and the material that will come through in the report.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much, Jason.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So you've heard it for yourself from the country managing partner, Jason Kazilimani. So stay tuned for more insights as we continue to cover the budget for 2026 for Zambia. I've been your host, Mwelwa Chibesakunda, and as we always say, get to know. Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another interesting conversation on the sidelines of the 2026 Zambian pre-budget survey, where I'm sitting down with the resident representative from the United Nations Development Program, James, who's going to tell me a little bit about their involvement in the report that, or rather in the survey report that will be discussed this morning at Protea Hotels right here in Lusaka. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Now, this is the first time you're on our platform. Are you able to just explain to us what your role is as country head and what exactly you do at UNDP?
Okay, James Wakiaga, I'm the UNDP resident representative. I've been in country for the last 2 years, so this is really my third year. And really, my role is to advance sustainable development, because that's what UNDP does in this country. And so the way we are basically guided by a country program document. And so our current country program document runs from 2023, right, yeah, to 2027. And basically we are looking at the 3 pillars. One, a pillar on inclusive growth. We have a pillar on governance, and then we have a pillar on environmental management and sustainable development. And so really these are the key issues focusing around advancing the Agenda 2030, which of course is also aligned to what we call the UN Cooperation Framework, and then of course aligned to the country's national development plan. So in this case, we are working around the 8th National Development Plan.
Right. Now, obviously, this is very interesting. And, our conversation happens just a few days before, Dr. Msokotwane, the Minister of Finance, will be presenting the Zambian budget. You partnered with KPMG to now release this pre-budget survey. Are you just able to walk us through the journey of why this, the survey was so important and, what the role of UNDP was in this?
Yeah. First of all, let me recognize the partnership that we forged with the KPMG. And as you know, KPMG is a critical player in the economy, not just in Zambia, but it's a global entity who are also engaged in the development discourse. And so for UNDP, it was important to work with like-minded partners like KPMG, and therefore to bring the knowledge and the foresight around the budget process, but also importantly, around the country's national development discourse. And I still recall a few months ago when Jason, the CEO of KPMG, came to my office, and this is really how the whole partnership evolved. So I'm really happy that today we are here actually launching this survey. And importantly to say that we are, as UNDP in the past, we've engaged in budget analysis, but we've been doing it as a post facto activity. But this time, we are actually doing a survey which basically bring issues around policy iteration that can help to frame the budget. And so in a sense, I believe this is the right platform in terms of forging consensus on the issues that are dear, for example, to the private sector. And so if you look at and without preempting the contents of the survey, if you look at some of the respondents from the private sector, from the civil society, they're all echoing certain important issues. One, issues around macroeconomic stability, as key, issues around doing business environment, issues around how are we able to create incentives for the private sector to be able to thrive. And so in this regard, I think the partnership is timely, but also importantly, it's creating that platform where we can capture the voices of the different stakeholders who are critical for the driving and transformation of Zambia's economy.
Absolutely. On a final note, obviously this survey will be circulated. In your mind, who do you believe should be reading this particular survey, and what are you hoping that they'll be inspired by with some of the findings?
Maybe to be cheeky, I think my grandmother needs to read the survey.
That's what.
and what I mean by this is the recommendations, the iterations coming out of the survey, they should be as simple as possible, so that any citizen is able to relate with the issues that are coming out of the survey, right? And then these are the voices then which needs to be captured in terms of the budget outlook for this country. So yes, we have obvious stakeholders, policymakers, private sector, technocrats in this country will be able to really benefit from this survey. But I also believe the citizens, the ordinary people, my grandmother somewhere should be able to also relate, with the survey, and then these voices, they need to be captured in terms of the budget outlook, but also in terms of the policy thinking as we move into the future. I want to mention that already the country is moving towards the formulation of the 9th National Development Plan, and as UN and UNDP, we are happy to be associated with that particular activity, because again, a survey like this will also be key in terms of influencing the thinking on what we need to consider when it comes to the formulation of the 9th National Development Plan for this country, in terms of the foresight, in terms of the futures thinking, and in terms of the systems thinking, because I think that's the direction the country needs to move to.
Right. James, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to the launch of the survey, and I hope you'll be part of us.
Absolutely,
Thank you very much.
So you've heard it for yourself. We've been speaking to the resident representative from UNDP for Zambia. So stay tuned for more insights from the budget 2026 being covered by Financial Insight on behalf of KPMG. I've been your host, Mwelwa Kenneth Chibesakunda, and as we always say at Financial Insight, get to know.
Today is a very important occasion. From where the ministry stands, I want to say that this report is something that is going to add value. It is something that we consider is long overdue. We only wish it could have come a little bit earlier while we were still crafting the speech, but nevertheless, it's still in a good time. It's still at a good time because we are still finalizing the speech. So we are actually hoping to incorporate 1 or 2 points that we'll capture from the report. My job today is really just to come and receive on behalf of the minister. But I just, again, would emphasize that where we are as a ministry, we think that the economy is moving in the right direction. We see all the macro indicators to be stabilizing. We are seeing what we're expecting for a good economy to thrive. In other words, if you want an economy to thrive, you need to stabilize all the macro indicators. You need to have a situation where the private sector is able to plan, is able to predict what is going to be next by having stable policies, and I think that's where we are. In terms of growth is picking up, it's stronger. We had 4% growth in 2024. 2025 is promising to be stronger. Inflation, as indicated, is stabilizing, it's trending down. We see ourselves going down to towards our target. Our target is to be in single digits in the medium term. And if you see the trend in inflation, that's going down as expected. The kwacha, the exchange rate of the kwacha is stabilizing. It has appreciated about 14% recently. And we expect it to be strong, stable. The idea is not to have a target on the exchange rate, but rather to have a supply-driven exchange rate that is representative of the sentiments of the market, driven by supply and demand. And when you see the kwacha stabilizing or appreciating, again, it's indicating that the market is becoming more confident in what is happening. Clearly, we are seeing Forex coming into the country. Our international reserves at $4.6 months of import cover, again showing that we are on the right path.
We are living in challenging times of economic headwinds, where we all know that official development assistance, ODA, is steadily declining, and many countries are facing unsustainable debt and macroeconomic vulnerability. The domestic resource mobilization has become more critical as a policy imperative in terms of moving forward. While Zambia on its part has made significant improvements in terms of mobilizing domestic resources, with tax revenue now standing at 16 to 17% as a ratio of the GDP. A positive shift indeed. However, fiscal space still remains constrained by debt servicing, volatile revenues, and lower than expected external flows. And so, given the above scenario, the 2026 national budget does provide a vital opportunity for us to strengthen domestic financing and ensuring that public resources are used efficiently and equitably to drive development. I'm therefore very elated to mention that UNDP, and indeed as UN family, we've been working to support the government domestic resource mobilization efforts through the development finance assessment, both at national and subnational level. As UNDP, of course, we're also very proud to inaugurate a new partnership with KPMG, one that moves us from post-budget analysis to pre-budget influence. And I think this survey is indeed very timely. Our collaborative survey is designed to bring the voice of the private sector, the voice of the civil society to the forefront of this very vital national conversation, and hopefully it can influence policy iteration that could then drive national transformation. In Zambia, the stakes could not be any higher. Since attaining the lower middle income status in 2011, Zambia has made commendable progress in a number of areas, including putting a dent on poverty, as well as human capital development. However, we also appreciate that poverty still remains a challenge. Inequality and regional disparities continue to persist. And so, in a sense, coupled with the recent global and domestic shocks, these continue to weigh very heavily when it comes to livelihoods. Hence, the data from our survey reveals the need for us to pay special attention, especially when it comes to the private sector as an engine of growth. And I'm sure in a couple of minutes we'll be able to see that the data does indicate that private sector is struggling, with 79% of respondents highlighting macroeconomic volatility and 78% citing the issue of the heavy tax burden.
The first disappointment is that there's no UNDP perspective to these findings and the report. The perspectives are those of Zambians who are running businesses, who are having to face the challenges that we all are aware of. Benson has done a good job in terms of heavy lifting and putting out the findings of the report there. Just to note that the survey was co-created by the two teams. The analysis was done by the two teams, and the report was done by the two teams. So we have nothing new to add from a perspective point of view. UNDP is the premier development agency of the UN. We are here to accompany the government and the people of Zambia in its journey towards prosperity, in its journey to eradicate poverty, in its journey to achieve sustainable development goals. That's our core function. There can be many things we can talk about, but put simply, that's what we are here for. And if that's what we are here for, then our perspective of this report is how can we increase the impact of taxation policies and national budget? listening to the speeches and what Benson has said, those are the two issues that we're dealing with here. Of course, taxation is a key component of the budget, but the budget has proposals which go beyond taxation measures, whether you're talking about tax policies or tax administration. So I'll talk to the two issues. How can we increase the impact of taxation policies at the national budget on development? We know that the broader social, economic, and political context of a country like Zambia determines the policy effectiveness and its impact. Tax policies in this case. Tax policy is one set of policies, but many other policies that or actions that we need to consider in terms of moving towards an impactful development process. We have budget allocations, we have subsidies, grants, cash transfers. All this work in sync towards moving a country towards prosperity. At UNDP, we have a program christened UNDP, the Tax for SDGs Initiative. The idea of this initiative is to bring taxation to the very center stage of the SDG agenda, of the national policy and planning processes. We know that taxation is important, and taxation doesn't always have to be negative. I mean, when you talk about taxation to the private sector, they think all that you are doing is to extract without giving something in return. So let's look at taxation more broadly from a positive and to some extent not so positive perspective.
So in terms of the presentation itself, it's going to be in three parts. The first one is just an introduction in terms of purpose, scope, and methodology. Then we'll talk about the survey findings. We give key insights, and then also the conclusions. For the purpose, it was really, okay, so in terms of the purpose, it was really intended to provide valuable insights for the government of Zambia, particularly the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, as they prepare the 2026 national budget. And thereafter, it is also intended to inform a national dialogue and also decide debate on the 2026 budget. So in a nutshell, that is basically the purpose of this particular survey. Then in terms of the scope, so the survey generally provides an evidence-based perspective on critical issues affecting Zambia's economy and social development landscape. The findings also highlight stakeholder priorities and expectations across key areas of the economy. So the areas that this particular survey covered are 7, and the first one is macro level factors affecting business, fiscal and tax measures, government programs and fiscal measures, debt restructuring, environmental, social, and governance considerations, climate financing and carbon markets, socio-economic effects of the current tax system.
Zambia is on a growth trajectory, and there's a critical realization from government to say public resources are not enough to drive the economic transformation that we endeavor. And in that regard, the private sector emerges as a critical partner to unlock growth opportunities for this country. Therefore, this initiative by KPMG and UNDP is commendable. I should mention that ZACI, every budget cycle, we compile over 70 pages of private sector submissions to government. And this includes physical and non-physical interventions that we feel from the private sector will unlock and enable them to be more competitive and deliver the economic transformation that this country endeavors to achieve. For those that don't know ZACI, ZACI is the apex body representing the interests of the private sector. We have membership drawn across all sectors of the economy, from district to provincial levels, from large corporates to MSMEs. To provide insights on the survey that have been presented, ladies and gentlemen, I should emphasize and commend KPMG for the focus on the priority sectors of the 8 NDP. And we have observed one, we have participation drawn for mining, agriculture, services, and other sectors of the economy. In terms of the geographic concentration of the survey, we have witnessed that over 87% of respondents were based in Lusaka. This is not shocking for us, because substantial share of businesses, especially in the service sector, are based in Lusaka.
I know that, it's been said that obviously our performance on inflation is a lot better. It's been dropping. I know the ministry has spoken about getting to the target 6 to 8%, I think, by the end of 2026. It would be nice to know how that is going and what's being done in this budget. So I'm hoping to see, some measures in this budget that point towards that target that's supposed to be achieved by the end of 2026. Obviously, debt restructuring is an important one as well. That's been talked about here. Debt restructuring and the lack or the drawn-out process does a lot of things. There is quite a lot of, I think, there's quite a lot of financing that comes into Zambia that is sourced internationally. And as long as we continue to be in that default state, then obviously it makes Zambia high risk, makes it expensive, makes the finance that we're able to source. First of all, it limits what we can actually get, and the little that we can get then is quite expensive. So I'm obviously hoping to see this sorted out. I'm quite hopeful. I know, it's been said that 92% of the work has been done, and it's that little 8% that's still holding us back. So hopefully we will see, obviously, in the budget and in the coming year that gets sorted out. Right, two more I will talk, well, a few I will talk about. Efficiency of the state-owned enterprises. Yeah, I come from IDC, so this one got me. It's a very interesting one to see that the public is actually concerned about this and they're rightfully observant. I can say that a lot of work has gone into this. You will be glad to know, and if you allow me to just answer a bit of that, you'll be glad to know that, as we stand, IDC has a portfolio of 36 state-owned enterprises that we superintend over. In terms of the governance, every single one of them has a board, right? And this is as of maybe a year ago or a few months ago, but every single one of them has an independent board. I think that's important. And I think that's progress for everybody. We are also working with each of these. There's a transformation strategy where essentially trying to get them to perform to the optimum levels. As at now, around 55% of them are profitable. And you will see that IDC does get dividends from these state-owned enterprises. And those dividends then are turned around and invested into greenfield enterprises, which you see us establishing. So I just thought I should mention that. Then something was said about the copper value chain. This was a comment made by Zaki, and I think it's an important one. But I just want to give a personal observation on that, because we recently had a practical experience in that. Some of you may know that IDC has a subsidiary. It's called Industrial Resources Limited, and Industrial Resources Limited has entered the space in terms of marketing Zambia's minerals. We are buying copper and trading internationally in partnership with Mercuria. Now, when we tried to do, as IRL tried to do a transaction of actually buying copper domestically, then obviously VAT kicked in, right? 16%. Suddenly you're almost uncompetitive, right? So you actually begin to understand why people find it easier to buy from outside rather than rather than internally, because then that VAT doesn't really kick in. So I think there's a lot to be said there. There's discussions that need to be had, but I thought I'll just give those reflections.
Let me now take this opportunity to thank all the respondents that participated in the survey, and IDC and Zaki for their comments and submissions. They have been truly invaluable. And lastly but not least, let me also thank UNDP for agreeing to partner with KPMG in this effort to facilitate, in some small way, the private sector to contribute to the national dialogue and debate on the 2026 Zambian national budget.
This event has been very useful. It's a demonstration of what partnership between the UNDP, the government, and the private sector can do in terms of gauging people's perceptions with regards and expectations of the budget. We are doing this ahead of the budget, just to be clear, and in terms of the people's own expectations and what they would like the budget to do. Budget is a very important policy document and a policy instrument that can be used to influence development. So to understand what the people's perceptions are, what the expectations are, and then to look at this, once budgets have been read, vis-a-vis what the budget actually outcome is in terms of the priority sectors and the investments and the direction that the country is taking in terms of development is very, very important. So this has been a very useful exercise, and we hope to continue working with the KPMG and the government in terms of getting to know and understand better what the Zambian people aspire for in terms of development, which can be achieved through the National Development Plan and, of course, importantly, the budget, which is coming up in a few days' time.
My name is Michael Piri. I'm a partner at KPMG. I head up the tax function at KPMG. And so from 2011, KPMG has been running post-budget analysis. But this year, we've decided to partner with the UNDP, and we are doing a pre-budget analysis, essentially gathering the views of various stakeholders so that these could influence the budget process. And so the event that we are having today was basically to launch the report that arises from the survey that we conducted on the various concerns that business persons have here in Zambia, as well as the opportunities that they see that should be covered in the budget. And so we have covered quite a bit of ground in terms of what the businesses would like to see in the budget. And we do hope that when the minister presents his budget this Friday, the 26th, some of the issues that were raised in the survey will be incorporated in the budget, and we'll find time again next week to then look at how the government would have responded to the concerns and suggestions that the businessmen and women out there have brought out in the survey.